Okay, so today I'm just going to guide you through a practice which develops metacognitive attention. Okay, this is the ability or the capacity to be aware of our thoughts as they happen. To recognize a thought as just a thought, not true, not real. It's just a thought, and if I step back and disengage from that thought, it will pass away. Okay. When you hear people talking about being the observer, or in spiritual traditions, they might talk about being the witness or witnessing. This is what they're talking about. This ability to step back, to detach, to unplug from thoughts as they happen, and just to hang back as the observer, to notice, to witness, okay, without becoming engaged with the content. Okay, when we stay disengaged from that content, it just arises and passes away by itself. Thoughts self-destruct. Okay, so this practice is based upon noticing thoughts, and to do that, we'll stay with our breath. But every time a thought pops up or intrudes, we can just mentally label that as thought and return to breath. I sometimes call it the rubber stamp practice. Okay, you're with your breath, a thought pops up, aha, thought, back to breath. Okay, we don't follow the thought, we're not really interested in why that's here, what does it mean, etc. We just recognize it, thought, back to breath. Okay, this way we become more aware of the mind, we can see the mind, we know what we're thinking, and there's less of that habit of just being unconsciously dragged into whatever the mind is playing to you. Okay, so you can sit comfortably on a chair, or you might be sitting on a cushion. We can sit upright. You can do this practice eyes open, kind of looking down at the floor maybe, or with eyes closed. You can play with that. Just use whatever's feels more natural. Okay, and then just listening, I'll guide the practice. So we can just begin by finding the breath as it flows through your nose. Just taking a few moments to see if it's there. And if it is there, where do I feel it most intensely? Is it the nostrils? Is it further back? It might be on the top lip. Wherever I feel that flow of breath most intensely, that's my anchor point. Okay? That's where I'm going to rest and sustain my attention as best as I can. Watching it, tracking it, riding each breath as it flows through the nose. Just to help us begin, we can count or track 10 breaths. Okay, just as a start point. Counting on every out breath. Take as long as you like. When you get to 10, you can stop counting and just continue to ride or track that flow of breath in the nose. So we can begin counting. Just continue maintaining and sustaining your focus on that raw flow of breath passing through the nose. Stay interested, stay engaged with that texture of breath. At some point, a thought will intrude, okay? A thought will pop up. As soon as you catch yourself thinking, you've engaged with that thought, just mentally label that or stamp that as thought, and then return to the breath. Don't go looking for thoughts, okay? Just stay with your breath as best as you can, and sooner or later, a thought will emerge. You may notice different kinds of thoughts which pop up. So there could be practical thinking, making a list, planning ahead. And if you notice that, you can just label it thought, and then shift back into your breath. You could also notice visual thinking, faces, imagery, almost like a movie playing behind your eyes. And if you notice that, well, that's just a thought too. That is mind-made. Okay, so you can just label that, okay, thought. Shift back into your breath. You also might notice the voice in your head. Okay, and again, if you notice the voice in your head, well, that's just a thought too. Okay, that's not what you are. You're listening to the thought. You are aware of the voice in your head. It's not you. It's just content. So you can label that thought. Shift back into the raw flow of breath. If no thoughts arise, that's fine. Just keep tracking that breath. Are there gaps between your thoughts? Are there moments when the mind is quiet or silent or still? And if there are, be interested, be curious, pay attention to those still moments. That lack of activity, that lack of thought. Okay, and then just check your mind, okay? Take a direct look at your mind right now. What's it doing? And so you might notice that thoughts are happening. Okay, and if that's what's there, no problem. Okay, we just let that come and go. We don't need to engage with that content. You just notice it. Check the space between your ears. Okay, what's happening there? There could be internal chatter, in which case, again, just notice that you don't need to engage with that. Or there could be silence. And if there's silence, you can listen into the silence. Listening into your own silence. You can drop your attention down into the upper body, okay, the torso, and just notice if there's any reaction, emotion, tension somewhere in the body. Notice where that lives. And it's allowed to be there. It won't last. It can't stay. But also notice if there's anywhere that feels flat, calm, or still, neutral, at rest. And then just shifting into the experience of the whole body on the chair. And what I'd like you to do now is just see if you can find the most pleasant thing your body is doing right now on the chair. What can you find? What's the most pleasant experience you can notice right now? And when you find it, just tune in, zoom in, soak in, pay attention to that feeling, that sensation. So you're soaking into it, fully alert. Okay, and then whenever you're ready, just in your own time, you can slowly let your eyes open if they were closed. Okay, you can move or stretch. So that's a very basic practice that develops something incredibly important and powerful. The simple ability to notice thoughts as they occur and not follow them. You know, we save ourselves a lot of trouble when we can catch ourselves and move in a different direction. Okay, so this is just that ability to develop our metacognitive attention, hanging back as the observer of our thoughts rather than being swept away into thoughts.